And we are back. I wake up to the annoying din of my alarm clock, its bright red numerals lighting up my face. It's the same alarm clock I had at home, one of the few remaining artifacts from my days before coming to Yamaku. I'd hoped that using it would help ease my transition into this new life. No such luck, though. Groggily dragging myself out of bed, I wipe the sleep out of my eyes, then reach over to my desk. I open a couple of the bottles of medication strewn across it and swallow a few pills dry. But now the process is starting to become automatic, something I should be glad for, given their purpose. Feeling much more awake than before, I wander to the bathroom. While the shower warms up, my mind begins to wander as my new daily routine begins once again. The bright colors of the fireworks fill my mind, as do the two girls with whom I spent my time watching them. It feels strange to be moved by so much by people I know so little about. Then again, I suppose these aren't normal circumstances. At least I have someone to talk to now, aside from my schoolmate next door. With the time left before school begins with today waning, I begin to get ready for class. Walking through the door into the classroom, I notice that I'm still somewhat early. I see about 5 or 6 students milling around, most of them looking as if they'd rather be still in bed. It's at times like this that I appreciate being a morning person. That said, 2 students in particular seem just as perky as always. Hi Shizune, hi Misha. Suddenly realized that my greeting would be lost on the former, so I quickly follow it up with a wave. She doesn't seem overly bothered. Or interested, for that matter. Hello, Hee-chan, are you feeling well? I can only assume her greeting comes from Shizune. It's hard to tell if she's speaking as herself or Shizune sometimes. Better than most everyone else, I guess. You two seem bright and chipper. Misha signs this back to Shizune as I say it, eliciting a somewhat terse answer. I don't know what terse means, if her sharp and rapid arm movements are any indication. Considering that these two made such a big deal out of the festival preparations, I probably should have chosen my words more carefully. Since you're a new student, we've been cutting you some slack. Please don't expect this kind of task dodging to be allowed in the future. Misha looks as if she's about to add her own comment, but quickly goes back to interpreting as Shizune continues unbated. While your contribution to Class 3-2 stall is appreciated... word sure got around quickly. That or these two have their fingers on the pulse of the school. We would prefer your efforts to be focused on the task at hand, namely your own class. As much as I hate to admit it, they do have a point. Before I can respond, though, Shizune adds something more, which draws a smile from Misha. Did you enjoy the festival, then? Lecture over, I guess. Yeah, it was good. Did you two enjoy it? Shizune gives a short nod as Misha grins and bounces her head up and down. The contrast side by side is amusing. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice more students starting to trickle into the classroom. A quick glance at my watch confirms that they're a few minutes late. Look over to Hanako's seat and realize that she's already there and contentedly reading a book. It makes me wonder just how long she's been there without me noticing. With heavy footsteps coming up the hallway signaling Muto's arrival, our idle talking comes to an end and I take my seat next to Misha. As the door slides open, he strides through with a ponderous gait. His posture is even worse than usual and his eyes are barely staying open. I guess my quip to Lilly and Hanako about the staff was misplaced. Everyone opens their books as he reaches his desk and the first class of the new week begins. I rub my eyes as the lunch bell rings out, glad for the temporary reprieve from work. I'm entirely unsurprised when I look over the door and see Lilly standing there, cane in hand, patiently waiting for Hanako. Considering her acceptance of my request to join them yesterday, I decide to spend my lunchtime with them rather than eat alone. Hanako moves surprisingly fast to meet her companion, and the two enter the hallway before I can catch up. Lily's head turns slightly, registering the sound of footsteps behind her. As Hanako notices and follows her lead, she almost jumps in surprise. Hisao? Hello, Hisao. Hi, sorry if I startled you. Lily turns to greet me, helped in her orientation by Hanako. Good afternoon, Hisao. Are you joining us? If it's no trouble, there's not much else to do, really. Lily gives a small nod as if to silently brush away any idea that it would be troubling in the least. We descend one set of stairs and walk down the hallway to the usual room, our pace somewhat quicker than usual thanks to Lily using Hanako for direction rather than her cane in the railings. As expected, it's deserted. The sound of the other clubs can only barely be heard as sunlight streams into the room from outside. Looking around the room, I notice a couple of empty easels propped up against the wall that I don't think were there before. The art club must have used this room as extra storage. Should I get the chess set out? Hanako's voice seems less tense when she's directly addressing Lily. Yes, I'll make tea while you sort the pieces. I can do that for you if you like. She ponders the offer for a moment before smiling, confirming that I've made the right choice. Her face is remarkably easy to read. Very well, thank you. She slides her retracted cane into the handle of her bag and sets it against one of the table legs before taking a seat opposite Hanako. As I prepare tea for the three of us, I can hear the small wooden pieces being set on the board. Wonder how good Lilly is at chess given her circumstances. By the time I place the steaming teacups onto the table, Lilly and Hanako have already moved their first pieces as they nibble on sandwiches and rice balls from their respective bags. I note that the chessboard they're using has holes in the middle of each square and pegs on the bottom of the pieces, and has each dark square slightly raised. That's pretty cool. Watching Lilly's fingers skating over the board, tracing out the positions of the pieces, makes me marvel a little at the simple ingenuity of the design. Must be specifically made for blind players. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Here you go. Hanako gives a small nod as I put down the cup next to her side of the board. Lilly's hand ventures sideways slightly, so I gently place the cup touching the tips of her fingers, a gesture she seems to appreciate. I finally take a seat and silently sip my tea as the two play. The contrast in their appearances while playing is interesting to watch. Hanako looks closely at the board, her face one of focused concentration. Lilly, on the other hand, keeps her head level and maintains her calm neutrality. Lilly's gentle voice addresses both of us as she continues to play. How was class now that the festival's over? I look to Hanako to see whether she'll answer first, but see if she's doing the same. Not great. Half the class seemed to be dozing off, even including the teacher, not to mention a test on top of all that. Hanako quietly adds her own agreement with this. I could imagine that being a bit difficult for you, being a transfer student. Well, I think I did fine. Other than the shock of a test coming so early, science is probably my best subject. How do you do, Hanako? Me, okay, I guess. Hanako's too sincere to be able to pull off lying very well, that much is obvious. Lilly's smile slips very slightly. From her reaction, Hanako must be skilled enough at academics to do very well without preparation. How did your class handle it, Lilly? It went surprisingly well, actually. Only one student was absent, which is better than what the teacher expected. With the topic all but run dry, the two concentrated on their chess game once again. Can't say I've ever liked the idea of chess as a spectator sport, but given its unique nature, for once I'm wrapped in watching the game unfold. As time wears on, both of them demonstrate decent skills at playing the game. Having captured two more pawns than Hanako, Lilly has the upper hand, but only slightly. Until Hanako makes a strange move with her queen, seizing upon this lapse in judgment, Lilly takes the piece with her knight. Without hesitation, Hanako moves upon to take Lilly's rook on the opposite side of the board and promotes it to queen. Lilly's face falters as her fingers move over the pieces, and she realizes that she just fell to Hanako's trap. It's a little distracting to have the board traced out after each move, even if it's out of necessity. Judging by Hanako's lack of reaction, she must be used to this. She and Lilly must have played at least a few games of chess against each other after all. Check. That's not bad at all. Nice, Hanako. The compliment causes her to flower into a surprised blush. Thank you, I didn't think it would work. I look over to Lilly, her fingers having just finished tracing out the position of her remaining pieces in an attempt to extricate her king from this bind. I think this is checkmate. Take another look at the board to confirm. Sure enough, her king is nowhere to escape without being threatened by another piece. My earlier question as to which of them is better, this has just been answered. So it is. Lilly gives a small sigh as Hanako smiles. From their reactions, this seems like a fairly usual result. How long have you two been playing? Since I was young. Lilly nods at Hanako's brief answer. Hanako taught me how to play soon after I met her. I can beat her every now and then, but that's a rarity. I don't seem to have the right mindset for it. If Lilly came to Yamaku at the start of high school and met Hanako when she moved to the dorms, that means she's only been playing for about 1 year. After seeing Hanako's level of play, I'm not too surprised Lilly has trouble beating her. But she's better at languages than I am, so... Lilly gives an appreciative, if slightly amused smile at Hanako's quick reversal of her compliment. Well, that's how it is. Much to everyone's surprise, the bell suddenly rings, heralding an end to the lunch break. That game lasted longer than I thought it did. Same, I guess we better get back to class. Hanako's already in the middle of packing up, so I take Lilly's bag and offer it to her. To my surprise, she takes it and nods, but then places it back down on the table. Zhao, may I make a request? Sure, go ahead. Would you mind if I were to quickly feel your face? No, go ahead, I don't mind. The question takes me severely off guard, but once I regain my composure, it seems sensible enough. So far, Lily's had no idea what I actually look like, so this would be her only way to find out. Lilly raises her right hand, which I take in mine and guide to my face before letting go. The room is entirely silent as Lily's hand moves over and around my features, from my chin to my cheeks to everywhere else. I expect this to feel a lot more disquieting than it does. I suppose that's because the action is entirely a matter of practicality, being functionally no different to simply looking at someone's face. Her hand is soft, but what takes me by surprise is the length of her fingers, not to mention how sure even the slightest her movements are. I have no doubts that her level of tactile feeling would be far beyond mine. Her hand briefly runs once through my hair before retreating. I'm sure that every inch of my face has been committed to her memory. It's only now, too, that I realize Hanako has been silently watching the entire time. Thank you for letting me do that, Isao. And if I might add, I think you are quite handsome. I blushed a little at her remark before raising a questioning eyebrow. But if you can't see how... Just because I can't see that doesn't mean I don't have my own preferences. We'd better be going now. Yeah, that's a good point. I guess we'll see you later then, Lily. Walking through the hallway back to our classrooms, I notice that Hanako seems quieter than before, but also more comfortable. Lily, her hand on Hanako's shoulder, seems to pick up on her assured pace as well, smiling as they walk. If I could spend the rest of my time in Yamaku like this, I don't think it'd be so bad. All that's needed for joy is small exchanges of happiness, after all. Yeah, I doubt we're going to be getting much happiness later on in this route. If Rin's route is anything to go by. As I reach my desk and set my bag beside, I realize something, or rather my stomach does. I was so busy with those two, I forgot to buy lunch. Just skip that. Saturday, my second most favorite day of the week. Your second most favorite? What's the first favorite? This is almost entirely due to the fact that it's a day with the second least amount of school. Oh, that's right, don't they have... Yeah, that's right, they have school in this game on the weekend, don't they? Amount of school with class ending at the beginning of lunch. I open my door confidently, myself being more confident of being able to get enjoyment out of the fine weather and shorter classroom length. I confidently stride down the hallway and down the stairs to the lobby of the male dorms. Confidently look behind me to see whose footsteps are approaching. I lose my confidence in this day being enjoyable. Hey man, sup? Not much, I guess. Just looking forward to the afternoon. You? He wraps an arm around my shoulder. I'm up my slumped shoulders far too comfortably. Something's up. Let's step outside, shall we? I was just about to before you stopped me. He doesn't take my reaction to his theatrics well. Ignoring him, I walk outside and start down the steps. Doesn't take too long for him to catch up with me again. I wonder if he wants money or to rant about another conspiracy. Maybe both. I've got a bone to pick with you. It's about that blonde. You know who I'm talking about. Conspiracy it is. For a moment I contemplate feigning ignorance, but realize this will just go quicker if I let him get it all out. Lily, the one from your class? You're on first name terms with her? He looks positively shocked at this development. Did he not expect me to be able to answer? He gathers himself and coughs into his fist, dramatically, like everything else he does. Well, never mind that. I'm here to warn you. You know, man to man. Warn me about what, Lily? Yeah, you don't know her, man. It's mostly true. I've only known her and Hanako for less than 2 weeks, and even then we've just been exchanging banal chatter about school as we while away lunch. I'm pretty sure you don't either. That's not the point. You're the one spending an inordinate amount of time with her. It distresses me that someone like Kenji, who's probably far out of the loop as one could possibly get, knows about such a trivial fact as who I choose to befriend. Then again, I am a transfer student, and she's not only the representative of their class, but also a tall blonde. Maybe I should appreciate his ranting as a warning that the rumor mill exists in this school and that I'm firmly within it. It's just lunch, nothing special. Look, man, under the bridge. See this bridge? You're under it. A man's gotta do what a man's gotta do to get intel. I just want to make sure you don't end up too far under the bridge. You're losing me, Kenji. That's okay, lots of people get lost. That's why I'm here to help. Just be careful around her, okay? She looks all harmless on the outside, but I've heard shit. Bad shit. You know the student council, right? He seems to involuntarily shudder as he says the words. Putting him and Shizune together in the room is an amusing mental exercise. I wonder if they've met. Yeah, she's named Misha in my class. I seem to have dodged the draft, though. Good man, good man. But this blonde, she was there in the student council, right? Damn there. I see. And? And she's not there now. Seriously, think about it. Something must have gone down. I stopped walking for a moment, giving the idea more thought than I probably should. It would explain that fight the two had, at least in part. Wait, no, not really. Even leaving the student council would need a catalyst. In the end, it doesn't explain much at all, other than the fact that their feud goes back some ways. I guess you have a point. I'm not seeing how that really affects me, though. Okay, now field this one. Lily's foreign, obviously. Obviously. Now, what nationality is she? I open my mouth to give the answer, but realize I have none. In fact, I've given the matter very little thought. Given that she has no accent and acts perfectly Japanese, I suppose it never really seemed important. Now that he mentions it, though, I am rather curious. To be honest, I don't know. Maybe English? They like tea. Probably shouldn't resort to stereotypes, but that's the only lead I have. You're not thinking. Luckily, you have me here to think for you. I'm very lucky. Oh, gee, thanks. He brushes off the quip effortlessly. Now answer me this. Who has lots of social powers, filthy, stinking rich? You know, blondes are all rich, right? Has a long history of disputes and used to belong to a much larger organization. The Roman Catholic Church? Well, okay, there's that. There's also the Mafia. Come on, rich, foreign, there's no way she doesn't have connections to them. I have reason to doubt the logic of his deductions, but he shows no sign of stopping. So do you know where I think she's from? Italy? Mainland Italy, small time, dude. She has to be from Sicily. All those mafioso types come from there. Wait, no, Russia. Damn, this could be bad. Mafia there, serious businessman. Ex-KGB everywhere. Paramilitaries, hardcore smuggling. I thought he was going to say Russia at first, not the Mafia, because he said that was a part of a bigger union. I was thinking, oh, must be talking about the Soviet Union. Wait, stop. Just slow down a sec. What point are you trying to get at here? You know what she'll do, man. I'm getting your way. Agents don't operate like that, but I have to watch. I just want you to be careful. When the time comes, we'll need all the help we can get. I don't want to lose you, comrade. Oh, comrade. Well, at least he's concerned for me, kinda. I wave goodbye to him as we separate out to our respective classes, but I'm not sure that he sees the gesture. Piling my books into my bag, I catch a glimpse of the library books I'd borrowed last week. Might as well return them, considering they took all of 2 days to finish. Briefly consider inviting Hanako along to the library, but she's already gone. It'll probably be better for my studying if I'm alone anyway. With a quick stretch and a wave to a couple of classmates who give the same to me, I make my way to the classroom. As I open my bag and shove the books through the return slots in the front counter, I notice a strange person behind the desk, old and graying. She must be Yuko's replacement when she's working at the cafe. I begin looking for a free table, a task made somewhat difficult considering that despite there not being many students here, they're all sitting at their own tables. Noticing a familiar head of hair, I walk over to one near the Braille section. It's hard to tell whether Lily's concentrating hard or not, her placid expression holding perfectly still as her fingers slide across the dot-filled pages of the book. Hey, mind if I sit here? Oh, no problem at all. She trails off, evidently still focused on her business at hand. Ah, Zhao. She gives a nod of greeting as I sit opposite the table, pluck a chemistry textbook out of my bag, and quickly thumb to the chapter we're covering in class. For a while we sit there and read, each in our own way. Seeing her reminds me of what Kenji said this morning, though. That and the fact that I've never seen someone read in Braille before makes me keep throwing glances at her. I kind of feel guilty about it, given that she has no way to realize I'm doing so I decided to just ask her about her lineage. Isn't exactly a state secret after all. And there's another thing I've only just noticed from her movements. Hey Lily, mind if I ask a question? Not at all, is something wrong? I was just wondering, you're at least part foreign, right? She gives a small giggle before setting down her book. I've always been amused at how squeamish people are about that. Akio's mentioned how much she and I look different from most others before. The details are a bit complicated, but I'm half Japanese, half Scottish. Scottish, that's not exactly my first guess. I guess it takes some effort to not blurt it out loud. I try to conjure images of the place in mind. I think as far as the UK goes, Scotland isn't a bad place to live in, but I'm not really sure. My first guess of England was surprisingly close, at least geographically. That does leave another question, though. But you have no accent. That's where the details begin. I was born and raised in Japan, despite my mother being foreign. I get it. Hold on, she moved to the dorm simply due to Akila working longer hours. So they don't live near the school? She was a small sigh, as if she didn't expect me to go any deeper. Was her previous frankness just the front? Not exactly. It's been a long time since we've actually met. I feel like I'm not getting the whole story, but I don't really want to go unduly prying into her situation. Her about face shows she feels kind of awkward about it. So, do you speak much English? To be honest, I don't know that much about Scotland, but at least I know it's the main language there. It takes her a moment to collect herself, appreciating the change in topic. That's right, my family mostly used Japanese around the house when I was young, but they made sure Akila and I knew our Scottish side just as well. I'm fluent in the language, but I'm also studying it in school to keep my skills up and to have the qualifications on paper, mainly. So you're bilingual, that's pretty impressive. I wouldn't go that far. Having both parents who can speak the language is a large advantage, and English books and Braille aren't too hard to buy or import, with Yuko's help at least. There's a relatively high demand for local English teachers here anyway, which also gives me some motivation to learn it as well. Demand for English teachers? For a moment I wonder why she brought this up. You're planning to be an English teacher. She gives an enthusiastic nod. It must be nice having such a definite future in mind. I've never really given much thought to mine, so I'm kind of envious. Well, what's wrong? It's just, I could see you as a teacher pretty easily. It suits you. It does. For a moment she's speechless. She lowers her face a little and lets out a nervous giggle, something I've never seen her do before. With Lily's role as a class representative and her dependable nature, teaching does seem to be a line of work fitting her personality. Sorry, that was probably a little too much. It is true, though. Waving her hand in front of her face dismissively, she quickly recovers. It's not that, it's just that only one person's ever said that to me before. A short, somewhat awkward silence follows the discussion. Without knowing it, I ended up steering into a troublesome topic again. I should try to cheer her up a little. It was me who went and got her brooding after all. Want to go grab lunch at the cafeteria after this? Might perk her up a bit, or at least take her mind off her apparently complicated family situation. Going by her smile, it seems to have the intended effect. I appreciate the thought, but the food there... Quite a quick redirection of the conversation. She does have a point, though. The food there isn't the greatest. Maybe the Shanghai. We could ask Hanako if she wants to come as well. What is it? I almost forgot until you reminded me Hanako's birthday is coming up soon, and I was going to go shopping in the city for a present tomorrow. If that's an invitation, I'd be happy to accompany you. The ability to get more used to the layout of the city would probably be a good thing. I barely set foot in there, so I'd be hopelessly lost by myself. She gives a nod, signaling that she's happily approved of this plan for Sunday. We eventually get back to our books, though. Before I begin reading again, I steal one last glance at her. Maybe I've been thinking of my situation too much. After all, everyone here would have their own unique circumstances. A chance to get outside and clear my head will probably do me some good. I'm gonna take a drink. Oh, it's hot here again. Bored of standing in place and watching the television in a shop window, I pull myself away from the tacky display with little effort. After living at Yamaku, the city seems like an entirely different world. No running in the halls, common orderly conduct is to be used at all times in the classrooms. Students are to exit rooms after checking both directions for oncomers. Elevators are reserved for movement-impaired students, single file and stairs. Compared to such strict, almost regimental standards, the city's shopping arcade might as well be a strange country. While the school may have its fair share of hustle and bustle during the festival, the outside world is much different. Strange, having lived in a metropolitan city before my accident, this should feel more natural than Yamaku and the surrounding town ever could. Yet it feels foreign somehow. The elevated walkways and tall buildings, each adorned with billboards taller than any 3 people, don't do anything to distract me from the passing crowd's reactions. Lily keeps one hand on my shoulder, with the other holding her cane, which taps the ground with a metronome-like steadiness. Looking over to her, that neutral smile of hers still holds. Having only seen her in school uniform, I'd have not recognized her as she sat on a bench waiting for me to come, if not for her cane propped up against it and her distinctive hair. Can't tell whether they're glancing at her due to her height, her foreign looks, her obvious blindness, or all 3. Not that any of those would make the situation any less uncomfortable than it is. Do you have any idea where to look first, Azao? Her soft voice breaks me out of my line of thought. Oh, man, I don't even know any buildings here. Can't imagine that she's failing to notice the attention she garners, but she seems unfazed by it. I get the feeling she's the type to enjoy walking outside, so she might be used to it by now. Not really, this is my first time in the city, so I've got no idea where to go. Yep. She furrows her brow in thought, planning a route for us to take, and come to think of it, a way to communicate it. Something I've noticed in the time I've been with her is how, when deep in thought, she lacks close to any form of body language to show it. Her expression may change, but not a hint of movement shows. She seems to have little in the way of sweeping physical gestures in general, though, so I'd assumed it's part of her reserved nature. Is there a large electronics store near here? I take a quick look around, mostly finding clothing stores. After a few seconds, I notice a store with a bright blue sign some distance away that fits her description. Yep, it's just a bit ahead of us. Should we go in that direction? Thankfully, it's just the information she needed. With a nod, we start off and head towards Lily's unknown destination, landmarks being our guide. Here you go, 1 vanilla, 1 chocolate. I hand the money over the counter and take the cones to the railing that Lily's sitting on. Can't believe I let her trick me into this. She not only led me to an ice cream stall, but also got me to buy her some. At least she gave me the money for hers. Sure enough, she's patiently waiting where I'd left her. I guess she was planning on making the day an event rather than a simple shopping trip. call out to her and slowly place the vanilla cone in her outstretched hands, being careful to make sure she has a good hold of it before letting go. At least her tastes are fairly normal. I was worried she asked for some weird flavor when she first asked. Here's change. It's okay, keep it. I moved to protest, but realized the futility of doing so over such a small amount. I slipped the coin into my pocket, supplementing my meager allowance ever so slightly. Lily shows no sign of wanting to get up, so I take a seat beside her and start eating my own ice cream. Summer weather's nice. Hopefully it'll hold out for a while. You too. I'm beginning to think I'm the only person who prefers winter. I like winter. I contemplate her statement for a long moment. Yeah, I think you might be. She draws the intended reaction. She's cute when she's pouting. Still, I can't really imagine what's so good about winter. You can't go out without bundling up, and you freeze anyway. I used to live further north where there'd be plenty of snow to play in, so it's a little nostalgic. I don't like the heat very much either. Yeah, she's like me. At least you can wear a skirt, so don't complain about it. She gives an amused giggle as we both get back to finishing our already melting cones. I idly sit and watch the crowds going by as we eat, catching bits and pieces of conversation. Looking to Lily, I see her dutifully licking her ice cream from the top downwards, being blissfully unaware of the fact that it's beginning to melt. It's melting. Where? Down a bit? She lowers her mouth from the top of the cone, but has no idea exactly where the ice cream is dripping. It follows the game of guiding her left and right until she finally finds it. To any onlooker, must seem absolutely bizarre. A girl with her eyes closed, turning her cone over and over as the guy next to her gives her instructions. A strange variant of childhood blindfold games, maybe. In good time, we finally finish our treats and while away the time conversing casually. Caught mid-sentence, Lily perks her head in her trademark manner. It's an unmistakable sign that something's caught her attention. Huh. What is it? Is Akira somewhere over there? I think I heard her. I raise an eyebrow as I look in the direction she's facing, somewhat doubtful of her ability to pick out Akira's lone dim in the den. Wait, lone voice in the den. I think I messed that up the first time. Sure enough, though, a blonde girl in a suit can be seen through the tiny gaps between people walking by every which way. I raise a hand and wave, trying to catch her attention. Sato, hey Sato. She stops in her tracks and looks towards me, evidently noticing my calls. As she does, I notice someone walking beside her. Can't get a good look at whoever it is, though, before the two begin walking towards where we are. As they reach us, Lily and I stand to dust ourselves off. Nakua? Hey, you two. She nods towards me, a gesture which I quickly return. My gaze shifts towards the young girl next to her, and our eyes meet. As I do, Akira plops a hand onto her head, a move which doesn't seem to faze her. I don't believe we met. I'm Hideaki. Pleased to meet you, Hizo. The guy's name, huh? I guess I just dodged a bullet there. He bows, somewhat restrained by Akira's hand being on his head. It does not look like a guy, but okay. Oh, Hideaki is here too. Are you well? Akira's been taking very good care of me, thank you. Akira grins as if to affirm the point and rubs his head hard, dragging it around in a circular motion. His dreary face during this is somewhat amusing. Uncle's out on business again, so I'm just taking him around town for today. I'd have preferred to be spending the day on a date with my boyfriend, but... Hideaki gives a cough to try and redirect Akira's thoughts. As he does so, though, I find mine wandering. They're related, and further, as first cousins. I suppose that explains why she's taking care of him in any case. Come to think of it, Hideaki, how did you know my name? Akira told me, being a Yamaku student, I suppose you're disabled in some way? Then not everyone in Yamaku's disabled. Which I only learned a handful of days ago. I give silent thanks to Shizune and Misha for their stream of information about how the school works. Because of them, I found out that since the school will accept practically anybody suffering from non-mental disabilities, it doesn't discriminate against healthy people either. Seems unlikely that many in good health would enroll there, though. While the standard of education is pretty high, it's extremely isolated and very much focused on helping disabled students. You're dodging the question. Damn, you sharp. Before I can say another word, though, he decides to take a stab at it himself. If I were to call it myself, your heart? Akira looks mildly curiously at me, her interest piqued as well. That sure was a lucky guess. How did you... You show no missing limbs or deformities, so external disabilities are out? Considering lack of any strange mannerisms, it's also unlikely you'd have any mental disability. But Yamaku doesn't take mentally disabled students. I know. Leaving that aside, the only possibility left is that of internal disabilities. I didn't know which one you might bear, so I guessed, correctly as it turns out, and your reaction confirms my guess. More than a little bemused, I look to Akira. She grins and shrugs, obviously taking some enjoyment out of her partner's deductions. He's sharp, yes, but more than a little unsympathetic, logical, but lacking in tact. His attitude reminds me of Shizune in a way, as do his looks. May I ask why you're staring at me? Surely I'm not that unusual a specimen? Does he not know how unusual he looks? I could overlook the spats and clothing as just being coincidental, but the ribbon on his hair really is too much. This is entirely beside the point, though. Oh, sorry, you just remind me of someone. Akio gives him a sharp jab with her elbow. Told you that not that much different from her. He coughs into his hand to try and maintain an upright and serious demeanor. I see you've met my sister, then. Perhaps my full name might help you. I'm Hideaki Hakamichi. You are probably thinking of my sister, Shizune Hakamichi. So he's Shizune's brother. Wait a minute, if Hideaki is the son of Akio's uncle and Shizune is his sister, then that means Lilly and Shizune's fathers are brothers, therefore... Lilly and Shizune are first cousins? Lilly groans in an uncharacteristically unrestrained manner. The reaction earns an amused smirk from her sister. The enmity between the two just took on another meaning. I had thought it simply a matter of difficulty of communication between the two, but a family feud makes things much more complicated. You can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. She gives a half-hearted shrug. She mustn't give as much weight to the two's conflict as I do. Well, that's how it is. What are you two up to anyway on this fine day? We're shopping for Hanako's birthday present. This day will be coming up soon, so this is the last chance we'll have before school starts again for the week. Akio makes a strange face as if Lilly had just said that the sky wasn't blue and the clouds not white. Isn't her birthday on the 10th next month? Yes, why? Is something wrong? Akio's face seems to collapse. It's an utterly unbefitting expression for someone so rowdy and headstrong. The folks didn't call you yet? As Lilly shakes her head cluelessly, I look to Hideaki to see if he knows anything about this. A simple shrug is his only answer. For a moment, Akio ponders what to do before smiling once again. The fact that she can hide her emotions so quickly and effectively is unsettling. Hey, Shorty, sorry, but could you hang with Hizawa for a while? He nods and waves her off, placing an arm on Lily's shoulder as she guides her away and out of earshot. And so I'm alone with Shorty. So, nice weather, isn't it? It seems so. I guess they dumped us. Indeed. What a farcical attempt at small talk. I've got no idea how to talk to this guy, and his robotic responses aren't helping. Blood and stone come to mind. Without another word, he begins to rock on his feet in an obvious gesture of boredom with this discussion. He really is like a little kid despite his serious demeanor. Suspecting the conversation over, I decide to accomplish what I came here to do in the first place. I'm going to go search for a present. Coming? Not much else to do. In a little while, we come to a small shop beside a convenience store. For once, the store windows aren't filled with electronics and computer games, but dolls, stuffed bears, and all manners of wood-crafted oddities. Othello's Antiques? An antique store? Well, if there's anything in this town that'd suit Hanako, I guess it'd be here. I reach for the old-looking door handle, pull back at the last minute as I realize my companion's gone adrift. Not coming in? I'll just be in the newsstand for a while, don't mind me. His voice makes it painfully clear he has zero interest in what's in the store, and that he doesn't feel obliged to follow me. Wait, they just walked away from Lilly and her sister? I thought they were just gonna, say something, but we just wandered off. Okay. As he wanders off without another word, I push the thick wooden door and enter the store, a bell above me ringing out. The musty smell of old books and wooden shelves is distinctly anachronistic. I look to the counter beside the door. The graying man behind it sits there silently, reading a tattered book. He certainly fits the look of the place. Slowly wandering through the aisles, the person I'm reminded of as I inspect each handcrafted or imported oddity in turn isn't Hanako. Crouching down, I examine the ancient oak desk inside the shop window. At least 30 dolls, all varying wildly in size and make. The only similarity between them is the long Victorian dress they wear. I turn the price tag of one that looks to be about waist height. It's not in my price bracket at all. I do the same to each of them, getting more and more depressed as they get smaller and smaller in size. That is until I reach the very smallest one. It's affordable, just yet of quality make. It's affordable, just yet of quality make with a long auburn hair and a little blue dress. I decide that it's the kind of present Hanako would appreciate, pretty looking and far from gaudy. After I carefully pick it up, I decide to keep looking around the store. I'm not sure whether it's because I like the atmosphere or out of simple curiosity. Peeking around the corner before I go to the next aisle, I see that the shelves in this one are stocked with wooden toys, from toy cars to intricate automatons. Tucked behind a line of nutcrackers, I notice a little plain wooden box. It feels surprisingly light as I pick it up with my free hand. The lid only needs the smallest movement to pop open, the little metal drum inside beginning to rotate immediately. For seconds on end, I simply stand there listening to the palm-sized melody. As it plays, I take the tiny price tag in my fingers and bring it up to my face. The minuscule curving writing takes some effort to read. It's affordable, sort of. Grimacing slightly, I close the lid and make my way to the counter with doll and music box in hand. When I lay the two on the counter, the man behind it sits up and takes stock of them. He doesn't hide very well his surprise at someone of my age buying them. It's painful, but I hand over the money for the two and leave the store with a small opaque bag in hand. Hideaki being there takes me by surprise. No, hi, I thought you'd be at the newsstand. Kira gave me a call. She's waiting for us at the fountain with Lilly. At least that solves the issue of trying to find them. Again, that's what I was worried about too. We head off back to the fountain. Hideaka's immaculate posture and presentation despite his appearance makes for a strange contrast even as we walk. Lilly and Akira standing there waiting for us, their faces hard to read. Hey, you ready to go, shorty? Hideaka's mood seems to improve as he rejoins her. See you, Lilly. Hizao, tell Hanako I said happy birthday. We will. Bye. Goodbye, Akira. And with that, the two disappear into the fracas of the afternoon city crowd. Turning to Lilly, I know she's carrying a small bag. It's now I realize why her disposition felt different from before. While Lilly is typically the type to wear her emotions on her sleeve, her expression and tone are clouded and difficult to read. It's more than a little off-putting, but given the effort she's making to hide her emotions, I doubt she wants to be cornered on why she's feeling this way. Already bought Hanako a present? Yes, have you? Yep. Shall we head back to the bus stop, then? Okay, there should be a bus back to Yamaku pretty soon. And with that, we begin to walk. It feels strange compared to before. Lilly's hand on my forearm feels unusually tense, and the whole atmosphere is extraordinarily awkward. Silence continues for a good while. I don't like seeing her like this. Lilly's birthday party is going to have to be held earlier. Is the 4th going to be alright for you? I have no other possible obligations anyway, so I reflexively nod. Only afterwards do I remember that doing so is pointless and quickly answer so by speech. She tries to collect herself, a task that looks almost pitiable, and how plain it is to see how distant her thoughts are. Sorry, Zao, you said the bus will be coming soon, right? That's right. But now she says that, I have an idea. Actually, do you have anything to do later today? I don't believe so. Why do you ask? It's the point where I'd normally take your hand and rush you somewhere, but even without that, you'll have to trust me, okay? I take her hand and gently lead her on, her distant face replaced by one of mild surprise and curiosity. As the waitress sets the cup of tea and cup of coffee that I'd ordered onto the table, I thank her before she takes her leave. Truth be told, I really lucked out in finding this cafe. I didn't really know where I was going, rather I was just looking for any cafe that looked relatively nice. Having managed to recover a little, Lilly tentatively sips at her cup as I take a long gulp of coffee in front of me. As I hoped, her face lights up as she realizes what flavor it is. Ah, this is wonderful. Hizao, how did you know this was... I'd asked for French vanilla black tea, hedging my bets that it would be her favorite flavor, or at least one she liked. Well, I don't really know much about tea. It sounded like one she might appreciate. On the basis of her liking vanilla ice cream. A tea connoisseur? I am definitely not. It was a lucky guess. You really like tea, don't you? She puts her tea cup down and gives a tiny nod. That familiar, faint smile thankfully perched on her face once again. Drinking tea is calming, I think. With the amount you drink, are you sure you're not addicted to it? Caffeine addiction is pretty common nowadays. Did I ever say I wasn't? She lets out a giggle as my head drops. We all have our vices, I suppose, and there are worse things to be addicted to. French vanilla black tea, I'll have to remember that. For a while we both silently drank. It's comforting to have someone like her nearby in such new surroundings, even if it's just the two of us sitting in silence. I begin to wonder if this feeling is the same for her until she sets down her cup. Hizao, do you mind if I ask you a slightly odd question? That depends on the question, I guess. I was wondering what your favorite color is. Everyone has one, after all. I almost reply before realizing why the seemingly mundane question is actually quite strange. My favorite color, but... She gives a pouting look, wanting me to answer anyway. Well, the answer seems unavoidably wasted on her. There isn't any harm in giving it. I've always had a thing for green. Me too. I'd say that's my favorite. Green, is it? What things do you think of when contemplating that color? I suppose grass field and trees in summer. The army as well, with camouflage. Men always seem to like the military. But that sounds like a nice color. A very nice color. She nods her head as if approving of the choice. Considering how foreign the concept of color is to her mind, labeling it by association seems reasonable enough. If everyone has a favorite color, then what's yours? Wait, I'm told that's the color of snow and of ice cream. You know better than me if you only like that color because of a favorite food. I guess white is nice too, though. Speaking of colors, it'll be getting dark soon. Let me help you up. Lilly offers her hand, which I take in mine to help lever her up from her seat at the table. Its softness compared to mine takes me off guard, as I'm really not used to such casual contact. It doesn't seem to bother her at all, though. While it seems obvious why, it feels like just one more ladylike aspect to her. As her hand moves to her pocket, I quickly cut her off. Don't worry, I'll pay for this. Oh, thank you, Hazal. Man, you're blowing all your money. She gives an earnest smile at the gesture, a reward much greater than that of her words. By the time we step off the bus, it's well and truly dark. We make our way up the hill in silence, both of us behaving a little awkwardly, probably because of the day's events. While I'm still concerned over Lily's withdrawn nature after meeting with her sister, the fact I managed to cheer her up even slightly feels like a personal victory. But it feels like the air between us has changed. Maybe it's only a bit, but it's something I don't think either of us realized before. That was a date, wasn't it? It was, but doesn't elude either of us, the question's answer being so self-evident as to be rhetorical. Awkward as it may be, I don't think this feeling is bad. In fact, quite the opposite. I don't know what it is. I certainly can't be sure, but it feels like something a little more than friendship. Understanding? Empathy? Searching for words to adequately describe it is difficult, nonetheless. Would you like to do this again sometime, Lilly? Without shopping for presents? The tentative question is met with the same look from Lilly as before. Her pale skin makes the rosy tint of her cheeks just slightly more noticeable on her face, though still pointed to the street ahead of her, lowers just a little. Okay. Alright. Well, that's going to be all for this part. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.